Private Dayo Okafor had been dead for 6 hours when the alien found him. Not metaphorically dead. Not dead tired or dead to the world. His heart had stopped. The field medic, Chun, who was 19 and had completed exactly 4 weeks of combat training before the Vorrkai came, had confirmed it, marked his dog tag, and moved on because there were 11 other people who weren't dead yet and needed to stay that way. The thing is, Chun had been wrong. Dayo came back the way people sometimes do after drowning in cold water, slowly, badly, gasping like something being born against its will. He woke up in a collapsed parking garage in what used to be Abuja, one arm pinned under a concrete slab, surrounded by 3 dead soldiers he'd known for 2 years and 1 alien he'd never seen before. The alien was also injured. One of its legs was bent at an angle that made Dayo's stomach turn. It was looking at him. Dayo looked back. "Huh," he said, because what else do you say? Here is what the news streams, the history files, and the memorial speeches never quite capture about the Vorrkai War. Most of it was incredibly boring. People hear alien invasion, and they picture constant fire, dramatic last stands, the sky always orange with something burning. And yes, that happened. There were days, the fall of Karachi, the defense of the lunar relay stations, what they called the 48 hours in Sao Paulo, that were everything the stories say they were, every second a razor, and no room in your head for anything except the next 10 meters. But most of the war was waiting. Waiting in basements. Waiting for supply drops that came late or didn't come at all. Waiting for orders that turned out to be based on intelligence already 12 hours old. Waiting in the particular specific silence of a city that used to have 9 million people in it and now had maybe 600, most of them hiding. Dayo had been waiting in that parking garage for 3 days when the ceiling came down. And now he was pinned under a slab, arm going numb, looking at an alien, and neither of them was doing anything about it, because what were they supposed to do? Its name, the closest human tongues ever got to it, was something like Sketh. Dayo didn't know that yet. He just called at you for the first hour, in the careful way you talk to something when you're not sure if it's dangerous, and also you're pinned under concrete and in no position to find out. "You're hurt," he said. The alien said something in a frequency that was mostly outside human hearing, but landed in Dayo's chest like a bass note. "Yeah," Dayo agreed. "Me too." They considered each other. The alien moved first, dragged itself, hissing, across 3 meters of rubble and shoved its shoulder against the concrete slab. It was not enough. The slab was maybe 400 kilos, and the alien was working with 1 good leg and whatever passed for determination in its species. It pushed anyway. The slab shifted 0.5 centimeter. "Okay," Dayo said. He got his free hand under the edge and pushed with it. It took 40 minutes. His arm, when it came free, was the deep purple-black of serious bruising from wrist to shoulder, and he couldn't feel his fingers. The alien collapsed sideways when it was done, breathing in shallow bursts. Dayo sat up, flexed his hand until the pins and needles became something closer to pain, which meant the nerves still worked. He looked at the alien. The alien looked at him. "I'm Dayo," he said. The bass note again, shorter. "I'm going to call you Key. Is that all right?" The bass note, which he decided to interpret as yes. There's a certain kind of story where this is the part where they learn from each other, where the human and the alien, thrown together by circumstance, discover their shared personhood, and it becomes a metaphor, and they part ways changed, and the war ends a little bit because of what happened in that parking garage. This is not entirely that story. This is also not the story where Dayo kills the alien the moment he's free, because it's the enemy and war is war, and humans are ruthless and efficient and all of that. What actually happened is Dayo had a protein bar in his jacket pocket that had been there so long the chocolate coating had turned gray. He broke it in half. He held out 1/2 to the alien. The alien looked at it for a long time. Then it took it. Later, much later, after the war, after the linguists and xenobiologists and diplomats had done their work, a Vorrkai scholar would write a paper about that moment. Not about Dayo specifically, because the scholar didn't know about Dayo, but about the broader pattern they'd found in their records, the moments of inexplicable generosity that Vorrkai forces had documented and never been able to categorize. Soldiers sharing rations with wounded captives. Medics treating enemy injured before their own. The woman in Gdansk who hid 3 Vorrkai from a riot and got them to a POW facility alive, because she said someone had to. The paper was titled, roughly translated, on the human's peculiar inability to fully commit to hatred. It was controversial. Other scholars pointed to Sao Paulo, to Karachi, to the body counts, to what humans were capable of when you push them. Both things were true. That's the part nobody puts in the speeches. Dayo's radio crackled back to life on the 4th day. Any units in the Abuja sector? We have a resupply bird coming in at grid. He grabbed it, gave his position. 1 survivor, mobile, 1 Vorrkai detainee, non-hostile, requires medical. The pause on the other end lasted about 5 seconds. Say again, Okafor. Non hostile. He pulled a concrete slab off me. I'm counting that as non-hostile. Another pause. Command is going to want to talk to you. Command can get in line, Dayo said. Send the bird. He survived. So did Dayo's arm, though he lost grip strength in 2 fingers and got a small metal plate in his radius that still sets off scanners. The war ended not with a monument, or not just with one, but with something that had no good name in any language yet, a kind of exhausted mutual recognition. The Vorrkai had gone through 11 civilizations and never once had to ask themselves why. It was math. It was resources. It was what you did. Humans made them ask the question. Not because humans were noble. Not because humans gave some great speech about the dignity of life. But because humans were so bafflingly inconsistent, capable of extraordinary violence and inexplicable kindness, sometimes within the same hour, that the Vorrkai genuinely could not build a model that predicted them. And you cannot conquer what you cannot predict. There's a word for it in the older Vorrkai dialects. Pre-war. It translates roughly to noise. They learned, eventually, to hear the music in it. Dayo went home to Lagos after his discharge. Got back into electrical work. Married a woman named Funmaleo who had spent the war coordinating refugee logistics out of a secondary school gymnasium and had opinions about everything, which he found exhausting and essential in equal measure. He went home too. Dayo never found out exactly where. But years later, when the first formal diplomatic exchange happened and journalists were finally allowed onto the Vorrkai homeworld, one of them, a young woman from Nairobi, photographed something in the quarters of a mid-ranking military official. On a shelf, next to what appeared to be commendations and family objects, was a small sealed case. Inside, half of a gray chocolate protein bar, preserved and mounted like something precious. She asked about it through the translator. The official, who had a leg that moved slightly wrong and always would, said only that it had been a gift. She asked from whom. The answer, translated back, was someone who should have been my enemy. She filed the photo. It didn't make the front page. There were bigger stories that week, there always were. But it's the one people kept coming back to.